Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to New York's Business Podcast. My name is Jacob Restituto. I'm the host and owner of Restituto Media, a full-service photo and video company here on Long Island. Today, I'm here with Eric here at 317 Main Street here in Farmingdale. Really looking forward to having this conversation, hearing your story, and I appreciate you taking the time.
I appreciate you taking the time coming over.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
My pleasure, my pleasure. So, for people that aren't super familiar with you and your story, which would be fun because, like you mentioned before we got started, you've done the gamut of Fox and Friends, News 12, so people might have seen you around, but if they aren't super familiar with you and your story.
So yeah, my story is long, but in the condensed version of it, I'm doing this for 44 years. Love what I do. I'm very fortunate to have the restaurant here in Farmingdale. Lots of cool things coming up this year. Just released my fourth cookbook called Fork and Good, which you can get on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Great book, a lot of fun, kind of where I'm cooking now. But I've been doing this for a very, very long time, and I love what I do. Like I said, fortunate to have gone through a lot of fun things. And we opened up 317 just about 5.5 years ago, 5 months before COVID. So that was kind of a fun lesson in how to pivot. And that's one of the things that we were able to do, and just thinking outside the box. And we always talk about, from the day we opened up this place, never me too, but me different. And then what does that mean? That means that, you may have a burger down the street. I'm going to have the best burger on the street type of thing. I'm not going to just serve a salad on a plate. I'm going to do a salad and shake it and pour it out on your plate at the table side. I'm going to give you onion soup, but I'm going to give it to you in a roasted onion. Just thinking outside the box, thinking about ways to create an experience. And it's not just one thing here. It's all things that we work on. It's the level of service. It's the quality of the cocktails. It's the quality of the food. It's the creative on everything. All the events that we do here and we create, whether it is simple as the chef's table, a boozy brunch bingo. We do a movie night, dinner movie night, where we'll play a movie and the food coincides with that movie, like Ratatouille or Elf. So there's lots of things that we always do. We have live bands on Friday nights, and again, do cooking classes. So they're dinner demos, so you can come eat, drink, and enjoy, and I do the heavy lifting, tell stories, share the recipes, share the dishes. We have a chef's table, so we do a high-end tasting menu there. It's limited to 8 people, but it's an experience. Instead of going into the city and spending $300-$400 for that, you spend way less, and I'm cooking right in front of you. So it's that interactive, again, the experience, all right? It's about everything. Like, I'd never go to a table and go, hey guys, how's everything? I ask you, how are you enjoying your experience? Because it's not just about the one thing, it's about the overall thing. And that's, I think, one of the things that separates us from most.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I want to hear, you mentioned a couple different things that you guys do that separates you. I'm curious, I think that staying relevant is always important. Talking about pivoting is always important. And I want to hear about your pivot during COVID, because you mentioned that we actually, before we even started filming, but also you mentioned again now, and I'm curious how you pivoted. And then I want to also talk about the gimmicks versus staying relevant, because I think that some things, some people, some businesses in general get caught up in the gimmicks of things, of like, oh, we got to do this thing, and it's
Right.
like, it's not true to them, and it kind of just feels,
It becomes a trend, and someone looks at a social media thing and go, oh, we have to do that. Well, if it doesn't fit on brand, it doesn't make sense. Right? So we're not going to do things that are like, we're a gastropub. So our level of food and cocktail really run a wide range. But we're not bringing in, a guy who does magic tricks at the table side and try to create that type of experience. So we try to keep it as unique to us as we can, being a gastropub. But again, the food has no limit. The gastropub really is the combination of great food and beverage, right? So we combine those two things here to create an experience. So we don't want to get gimmicky, where it's like you see something on a social media app, they're putting cocktails in IV bags and then, bring it to the table and you're sipping out of the needle part of it, which is a straw. It doesn't fit us. We don't need to go that far. What we need to do is constantly create the best experience without going to that level of weirdness.
Sure.
And it happens all the time, and you see it everywhere. And how many different ways can you make chicken parmesan, so to speak, right? No one's reinventing the wheel on that. But as long as you're doing it, do it the best of your ability. Don't try to put a spin on it where it doesn't make sense and the experience for the guest is average. I've gone to many a restaurant, and even ones that have Michelin stars, where spend a lot of money and the experience is just, they kind of rely just on that name, just on that thing. We can never rely on an award only. Our Monster Burger, which is a signature burger, we got top 50 burgers in America. I've gotten that from USA Today over the years, and you just can't let it be okay. It's got to be great. It's got to have the impact, the quality. You can't skimp on that. So it's everything about the dish, right? Whether it's a paella. So the paella, to me, part of my heritage is from Spain. So I wanted to make it as authentic as I can. So I did the research. This is the first time I ever put that on my menu because I wanted to make sure that it was right. That's an important thing. Be authentic to who you are and be honest with the quality of what you're doing. That's an important thing. But when you talk about pivot, when the pandemic happened, we were only 5 months open. So no one was coming to save us. So myself, my partners, we talked about how we could open up our bay windows, sell alcohol, create packages. So we had, I think, 7 or 8 different packages for people to come pick up at the window, and then created cocktails.
Would they call before?
They would call and to pick up, and they would pick up the package, and it would be a dinner for 4, and we had several different ones. We had chicken and mac and cheese. We had, everything had sides and desserts to go with it. We had an Asian one, we had a barbecue one, we had a burger one, we had a taco one, so something for everybody. And then we created to-go packages for cocktails, where we had it set up a stand, basically an alcohol stand outside, because at that point they allowed us to do it. And it saved us, just pivoting and then, doing like live music and online and doing it as fundraisers to help the community.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so one of my partners came up with the idea because we have 8,000 square feet here. Our back dining room was originally just for music and events. And then post-pandemic, we realized that, this 6 feet thing had to happen. How do we get as many people in here as we can? Well, we use that more for dining. So now we went from having 136 seats in the front to having 290 seats overall. And because we opened up that back space, and we need it, thank God. We're lucky that we do need that. But we do have the live music. We do a lot of catering and events here. We do, like I said, cooking classes and wine dinners and beer dinners and movie nights. So there's lots of really cool things that we do, and having that space is a blessing. And no one has what we have here on Long Island. We're the only place that has this type of setup.
This type of setup as in what?
As in having the front dining room, the back dining room, that we have a live stage, live music. We have one of the largest TV screens in the back on Long Island. So we have a whole system, PA system. So bands could come plug and play type. And it's really cool. So it creates a good experience.
So it sounds like you guys have a lot of things going on and a lot of things thankfully successfully going
Yes.
on. And from what I've seen, and heard about you guys, I haven't eaten here yet, keyword yet. But point being though is that you guys are doing some really great things. My question for you is, while you guys have this, while you're striving for this high level of expertise in all that you're doing, how do you tell people about it? How do people know that you do all this stuff? How do you essentially what's your marketing plan?
Right. So we have a marketing department in our company, and we meet on a weekly basis to talk about ideas. So it's the social media stuff. It is constantly getting out there and putting out what we're doing, whether it's in a local paper, a local TV. I'm fortunate enough that I get to do a lot of Fox and Friends and Channel 12 and Channel 11 when I'm always someone that they go to. So we're able to promote the business. So there's lots of ways through social media, whether it's Instagram or TikTok or Facebook, those things that we share the ideas, and not to oversaturate it, but to get the right marketing. So Karina, who's our director of marketing, she goes after specific things for specific events, specific styles. We know that a cooking class isn't going to go with the same group that goes after a 90s band, so to speak. Or a chef's table is not going to be the people that are going to go after a boozy brunch bingo type thing. So we have all these little things and events that we do that kind of really resonate with different people for different reasons. So whether it's a table at the table marketing, whether it's a QR code, whether it's TV, we have lots of ways of getting to our customer, using all of our social media platforms. and having a consistent reputation. And we're far from perfect. I'd love to say we are, but we're far from it. But it's always working at that, right? So how do for me as a chef and owner, I talk to our tables. So once we slow down in the kitchen, I'll stop at our tables and ask how people are enjoying their experience. You get some really cool feedback by doing that, creating that relationship with the kitchen and the dining room is such for me, as a cook, it's important because I get direct feedback. They may not say it to the server, but they'll share it with me. They don't like something, they'll kick me in the teeth. Oh yeah,
Really?
but I make it so. I don't get offended. If you don't like something, I get thousands of people coming here during the course of a week. So you have to have tough skin and not take it personally. All these people, everyone has a different palate. I could put the same dish in front of somebody, 10 different people, get 10 different opinions. But I will say, when a customer's wrong, they're wrong, and I will point it out to them. People are like, the customer's always right. No, they're always the customer. They're not always right. We had a guy, and I talk about this all the time now. We had a customer who sent back our ramen, and I asked the server, what's wrong with the ramen? He said the customer never had ramen with noodles in it. Exactly. The way you just looked at me is exactly how I. So I went over to the customer with the ramen in my hand and go, hi, my name is Eric, I'm the chef, I'm one of the owners. So I understand you didn't like the ramen. He's like, I've never had ramen with noodle. I'm like, sir, you've had soup. And he looked at me and he said, the customer's always right. I go, no, the customer's always the customer, not always right. He's like, yeah, but I've had ramen all over the place. I've never had it with noodles. I'm like, sir, you've had soup. He's like, I beg to differ. I go, well, let's take out our phones. Let's Google that. Ramen. I Googled it. It said ramen noodle. Second word. He's like, well, difference of opinion. And I go, not really, but you enjoy yourself. You enjoy your soup. So you have to, as someone who actually cares about my customers' experience, you have to listen. Just like with my staff, when they tell me something, I don't just blow them off and I'm the boss. Or someone brings a dish back, it's great. No, you look at it, you taste it, you smell it, you listen and you react to it. Sometimes we make mistakes. Sometimes things are going to happen. The world's in a perfect place, and it's what you do to fix it to make it right.
Speaking of feedback, and you just mentioned your employees, I'm curious how your retention rate is going here and how you work to increase the retention rate of your employees and keeping them here.
So we have had, kitchen-wise, we've had the same people for the last 4 years. Since the reopen of COVID, after COVID lockdown, I've had the same staff. Maybe one person, two people have left because of one person went back to their own country, and then one got pregnant, so she didn't want to work anymore. But for the most part, the front of the house and the kitchen are the same people. And it's great because the consistency
of
them.
That would be a several-year retention, which is phenomenal for any business.
So it's been pretty wild. And when you listen to your staff and you help them and you treat them properly, it's easy. But if you're a tyrant and you think because you're an owner or a boss that you could beat them down, those days are over. Trust me, I grew up in that. I was stabbed in the arm. I had oil thrown on me. I've had bottles thrown at me, pans thrown at me, and it was a different day. You're going back years, decades, and it's hard even to yell at people now. I don't even want to yell at people now. I show them what they did wrong. I explain to them what they did wrong, and I guide them on how to do it better. And then it's good. It's done. I never have to worry about it again. There'll be something else tomorrow or later, but it's how you handle it. That's the biggest thing.
It's really interesting that I'd love to hear if you just have an opinion or speak a little further on that, like how times change. And you mentioned like growing up. A buddy of mine is a chef, and he was in all the different restaurants on Long Island stuff, and he has the same stories. Like growing up in the restaurant industry. He's in his 30s, so like he hasn't been doing it as long. But
he hasn't seen real war. He may have seen a little bit of war. He hasn't seen the real deep, ugly 30s, shit. Yeah.
But he was, the same story, similar stories. Things thrown at him.
Yeah. Well, it's a different mindset. It's a different approach. It is, and people the thick skin that we had. And listen, I am not glorifying the piracy of what it was, but at my first job. I was 11 years old. By the time I was 12, I drank my first bottle of whiskey on the line. I did my first line of cocaine on the line. So it's different now. Now it's like, how much sugar you need in your coffee. Leave it at that. That's about as high as I want you to get. It's just a different age. It's a different mindset. The old ways, the way we used to work, it was savagery. Because back then, the competition for a position was greater than it is now, right? I need to keep my employees because finding another guy or girl is harder. Not that I think back then you're a dime a dozen. You would get chucked for speaking out of line. Oh, it's a totally different world. Totally different world.
But that's really interesting because it changed. That speaks more of the dynamic of the workplace.
Yeah. Oh,
the
100%. Yeah.
The workplace.
Yeah. But
so where do people go? You think? What's changed?
I think that a lot of people are. This industry is hard. I'm not gonna. I would never. I love it. It's what I know. It's what I do. It's my passion. It's my. I've had a lot of more failures than successes, but the failures have been epic and amazing and life changing. But the successes, it's not me. It's us, right? It's the team. Winning awards. It's not me. It's the team. We win the award. It may be a best chef Long Island, but that ain't for me. That's for us. I give my team all the credit. Without them, I cannot do. Without my sous chef, Boris, I cannot do the things that I do for the business, right? So my partners rely on me. They can't do what they do without me doing what I do, right? But the dynamic of the kitchen has changed so much. I think also understanding, systems and operations, things of that nature that help keep the business consistent. It used to be a day and age where you wrote a chef's recipe down, you'd get punched or choked. Now it's like, yeah, go ahead. I want you to write it down. I want you to be consistent. And by the way, here's the recipe book. I have every single recipe that we do here for the last 5 years in a book on the shelf. Use it. You want to steal it? I can print out another document of that. But you want to go somewhere and take the idea? Okay. That's the greatest thing about what I do. I could create every day. And when someone down the street does the same menu that we're doing, just makes me want to be better. I'm like, oh, you stole the same idea? Okay, pause. Let me show you the next level, son. Let me show you what else can be done. That happens all the time.
People get so caught up in I want to speak of this because it's actually really an interesting, any business, the trade secrets or, I don't want to, I'm a hunter, so I have to go hunting, and people are I would never tell, you don't ask a hunter where he hunts, because they don't want to give up the wood spot. And it's man, there's enough stuff to go around.
Right.
And if you're not gonna, if you miss the shot, or you know what I mean, or if you're good enough to take the shot, then you're gonna get the deer.
Right.
But if you're not, then let somebody else get the shot. And it's the same thing with the food or any other business. And I think Frank's so interesting when, and I actually would like to say that I think that's a testament to why you guys have succeeded so well, is I think the mentality of the owner is 80% of the battle. You can have the best food in the world, but if your culture inside of here is not good, best food in the world, it doesn't matter. If it's run poorly. And I think, there's this concept out there, the more you give, the more you get. And
I understand that now.
I know well, sure,
yeah,
absolutely, but that's kind of the same concept. Is sure, we want to steal the menu, go for it. But in reality, they're not going to be able to create the same ambiance. They're not going to be able to create this. How many pizzerias are there out there? And there's only certain ones that people talk about.
Right.
Well, it's maybe 5 that people that's the best.
That's
pizza.
The best pizza. But it's subjective.
Sure,
everything is subjective.
But there's a lot of pizzerias that nobody talks about.
Right. Exactly. And that are really good.
Both sides, yes. That are really good, but also really bad.
Yeah. But I think it comes down to, I think culture is one of them, one of the major things, how you handle people, how you approach people. If you're going at them hard all the time, then they do this, they flinch, and then they don't hear. Now they're just worried about getting punched, right? But there's no secrets. I have an open kitchen. People love that because they get to see the action. My guys have to be that much better because they are in the spotlight.
I didn't realize that before. I like that you have a bar at the
yeah, but that's our chef's. Yeah, that's our chef's table. Yeah, so you can we do 6. I'm doing 10 courses, 20 courses. Really depends on the group. Anytime someone books it. Yes, you just have to book it.
And you'll do that on top of the regular.
Yep. Yeah, it's a completely different menu.
But I'm saying that you'll run simultaneously.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's wild. It's wild. It gets wild sometimes. On a Friday, Saturday night, we're getting banged all over the place, and I'm there. Doing a 10-course tasting for 8 people, and my guys are like, shit, maybe need a little help. I'm like, I'll be right back, folks. I go in, fix what I gotta fix, and then jump back in like nothing happened.
But that's also cool because it shows. Yep. Yeah, exactly. It's a show.
Listen, people love the show.
Oh yeah.
People love to see what's going on. That's why, on my social media, on my Instagram at Chef Eric L, I am always sharing my life. And the reason I do that is because I have a lot of fun. I have an amazing relationship that I'm in, and I want people to see that you can do great things and have fun and sharing your experiences, because you never know how you affect one person. So every Tuesday I do a Transformation Tuesday. I show a picture of what I used to look like compared to what I am, right? And to show people that it can be done, especially in our business. I get emails all the time. I need your help. How much? I'm like, I don't need anything. Here's what I did. Here's what you need to do. I share. I also do consulting and I do life coaching. But there are times where people just can't afford it. I'm like, all right, here's what I could do for you. Here's an idea. I'm not going to give you the hours that I put into other people because it's a business side of me, but I would never turn anyone down. Having gone through the things that I've gone through, the things that have happened for me in life, I will share 100% of my time. What is life worth if you don't share, right? I came out of, a really, really bad terminal cancer. I'm alive. So what's the use of having that experience if you don't share in it? If you don't share in the hope, right? If you don't share in the positive stuff, what's the point? We are all self-destructive. It's once you learn about yourself and and I learned the valuable lesson of chasing things that weren't making a difference, and I found the person that I want to chase goals with in life. All of a sudden, everything changes. It's an amazing thing. Having my person, my soulmate, changes everything because I get to do it with somebody. This industry will kick the ever-loving hell out of you if you let it. It's one of the highest drug-addicted, suicidal-rated industries in the world because there's pressure. There's pressure to be better. There's pressure to be the best. There's pressure to serve. There's pressure because customers are going to come in and bang on you because you're going to go on Yelp and think that what they say matters. Yeah. If you take care of your customer and you put out a great product, you take care of your staff, everything else works out. It's when you internalize it and you can't share in it, that's when it goes sideways.
It's interesting about the concept of the best because for a lot of businesses, a lot of it's subjective. And while food is subjective,
very much so.
But as a musician or as an artist with photography and videography, people understand that a movie or video or social media work or song that somebody's going to like and somebody's not. Yeah. Even the audience knows that. They're like, it just wasn't for me. It's not my taste. But when you come in and have a burger, while it is very subjective, people forget that, and it's just a bad burger. Right. And it's not like, it just wasn't my taste, because that subjectivity kind of goes out, and it becomes like, no, I know best now. I know, and it's really so that pressure of being the best is different than I think as a musician or as an architect.
I think all art aligns, right? It's in all aspects of what we do. Having a background in photography, for instance, right? My dad was a photographer, an amazing photographer. My cookbooks, I did the photography for most of them, almost all the pictures, and that's an important part for me because it's a form of art. I always tell people who know who Steve Vai is, like, I want to cook as well as he plays, right? So you set the expectation, the bar up high. Everyone's going to have an opinion. It's like we were saying about pizza. Everyone thinks the pizza at their place is the best. Okay, you could give me all the reasons why, and I could go in and taste it and be like, okay, it's subjective. It's chicken parmesan, right? You can have great parm anywhere, and trust me, in my lifetime, I've eaten a ton of it. But it's how it affects you, right? When we serve our soup dumpling, I've had better in Chinatown. Okay. I'm giving you my version of it, the best that I could do. If you can't appreciate it, don't have that here. I got 30 other things you could try. But you have to have tough skin in that. You have to be able to look past someone's opinion, because when you look at it, it's the law of averages in the restaurant. We sell 105 short rib every week. Someone comes in and says it sucks. The other 104 people enjoyed it. Okay. What didn't you like about it? What was it? Did you have a different experience somewhere else? And you can't compare it to somewhere else, because I'm not that guy or girl. It's like I used to make lasagna at one of my restaurants in Jersey. I stopped because a customer came in and said, it's not like my mom's. I'm like, well, if you look in the kitchen, your mom ain't working here. You ordered lasagna from me, not your mother. And then it happened again. And then it happened again. And I'm like, this is a great lasagna, but I don't need the headache of comparing me to your mom because I'll never be better than your mom. Your mom's awesome. She does it with love. I do it with love, but I don't love you. You're a customer. You're paying me for my lasagna. I don't ever go to a restaurant and ever be critical, right? Because I know the chef, he or she, they're doing their work. I'm there to enjoy. I'm not there to be a critic. I'm not there to judge them. Why do people go out and do that shit? I don't give a 5. No one deserves a 5. I'm gonna give you a 4. Go shit in your hat. Like that, I've been to Michelin star restaurants which I thought were terrible, but they got a Michelin star and I don't. Not yet, but it's like food's subjective. It's like music. I listen to lots of music. I love jazz, but I also like deathcore metal. And people are like, how could you like the both? I'm like, different moments, different moods. I could listen to Coltrane and Miles Davis on my way home, or I could listen to Sepultura and Lorna Shaw. Yeah. So I love music. I could listen to Public Enemy. I could listen to, LL Cool J. It doesn't matter. Like, I'm listening to music. It's a rhythm. Everything's a rhythm, right? So I don't know if you've ever seen the James Brown movie. So he talks about everything's a drum. He's in the circle with his band, and he's like, what's that? He's showing the bass player. He's like, it's a bass. He goes like, no, it's a drum. And he had to get them to understand that everything is the same. Everything's a rhythm, right? So it's food to me. Food's a rhythm. It's color. It's texture. It's a rhythm. And that's how it goes on in my head. I have books that I draw food out all day and night. I get a moment, I'm like, oh, I got this idea. Let me just draw it out, write it out. So next time I can go back to it. And I think that's a kind of important thing. You're constantly in a move of evolution. And you stop evolving, stop doing. Do something else. I don't know, I'm doing this 44 years. I've just scratched the surface of where I want to be. I know my why. I understand my everything now. So it's evolution for me.
Obviously, you speak with a lot of passion, a lot of care for your product and the services you're providing. How do you transfer that product, how do you transfer that passion to the employees and the other chefs while they're making? So for example, the opening night, I'm sure you're very excited, you want everything to be perfect. How do you maintain that level of quote-unquote perfection or excellence?
Yeah.
Now 5 years later, when you're making the same exact meal 200 times.
Well, it's funny. It's funny that you say that because I just had a conversation with my sous chef, Boris, about this a couple of days ago. I said, we need to look at every plate as if it's the first time, every time. What could be done better? Temperature, texture, presentation, quality. Let's not skimp on that. If the dish doesn't work, we kill it. If it doesn't make sense, we kill it. And how do I gauge that? I gauge that by how many of each item sells every week. If it doesn't sell 25 items over each week for 4 weeks, we kill the item. So I know that our...
Like better selling self, or just for reference. So for example, your top 50 America's burger a year, right. What does that sell a week?
Oh, the Monster Burger, we sell about 32, 36 a week of those. But our regular burgers sell 300 a week.
Okay.
So by way of comparison, it's a very specialized burger. But we sell our burgers of the week that we change all the time, and that'll sell 75 to 80 a week.
But so you're saying something that performs well will sell 300 items a week?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It depends on the week. Also, it depends on what's going on temperature-wise outside. Depends on the mood, the vibe, the people, the servers. Some servers are order takers. I want them to be salespeople. And not everyone's the same. So it's how do you train them to be better? You could bring them to the table and show them, but they have to want to do it. It's a difference of taking the order or selling it. I want everyone to have an appetizer, an entree, dessert. How are you going to get them there? Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the ways of upselling. If you have a table who does not want to
talk about that. Yeah. I think that any business, upselling is super important. The sales mentality of even you working in an art gallery. How do you buy? They're buying this one thing. How do you also buy them? Get them to buy this. Talk. How do you? If I was your employee, what would you talk about?
Yeah. So it's about understanding the experience of the meal, right? So I want the server to take them through the whole experience. I want them to say, here are the 3 four best-selling appetizers, and here's why. There's diversity in it. There's the texture, the flavors. You're not going to want to miss it. Well, we just wanted to have like one. Okay, here's the one that I'll sell that I want you to have because it's great. We do this octopus. It's grilled. It's served with a romesco sauce. And you got to sell it to them. You got to make them. You got to draw the vision in their head, right?
Oh, okay. Missing out if they don't have it.
Yeah, exactly. You got to. So when we do dessert, we don't give you a menu. We have a wheel. It has a small plate presentation on each thing.
Wow.
So you see what it is. And I know this works because one of my restaurants in Jersey, I remember it was yesterday. So I had taken over this restaurant in June of whatever the year was. Took a look at the dessert sales. Not much, 7-8% of customers that came in. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? So for 6 months, I tried to see what we were doing. That January, we rented there was in our building, some of the spaces downstairs, we had a hair salon. And they had this display cart that they put all the cosmetics on. And she was getting rid of it. Can I take that? She's like, yeah, it's on wheels, spray painted it copper. And we put the plates on there. And I shared it with my staff. I said, this is how we're going to sell dessert. We're not doing menu anymore. It's this now. They're like, why? I go, watch how much we increase. So from that June to that December, we sold, I think it was 980 desserts, 986, I think that was the number. The month of January, when we started that, 1,100 desserts. That 1 month, we had a 26% sales retention on that.
Wow.
People, because they see. And the table that didn't want to get a dessert, now it's one, then it's two. Oh, let's try this. How about I get you, then you change it up. You push it.
Do you know what the percent is for here?
We're at 23% right now, yeah. Yeah, 23 to 26%, which is massive.
Is that for all sales or only dinner sales?
No, overall.
Oh,
Are
you guys open for lunch?
Yeah, we're open for lunch. Yeah.
Well, so that's really good. Not many people get dessert.
Not many people get desserts. They do here.
That would lower the average tremendously. Saying if you're open for lunch, so that's actually pretty wild. So
it's pretty wild.
The dinner alone, I'd be.
Yeah, it's probably about 33%. Yeah, which is great. Yeah. Which is not norm.
Sure. What would normal probably be?
Probably 10, 12%. But it's how you sell it, right? It's how you bring it to the table. When we do our salads table side, we're doing the shaker. We have this jar, the server shakes it and pours it out like a cocktail. It's cool, it's different, it's unique. So yeah, when we do the smoked cocktail and then bring it over to the table and you pull the cap off and it creates this experience, those are the things that make a difference. When the fruit, we dehydrate it for a garnish, that creates the experience. The foam that he makes on top of it with a little something, that makes the experience. It's not me too, it's me different. Why does somebody want to come here? The diversity of the menu. But when you're selling it, you got to be enthusiastic about it. We have some sales people, some servers who, they're young and they're learning, so the excitement isn't there, and you got to push them a little bit. You got to try to, I'm going to challenge you guys. Whoever sells the most complete meals, appetizer, entree, dessert, you get dinner on me tonight. You got to push them in that direction. You got to give them incentive. It's a different age. It used to be where people made so much money, the dollar went further than it does now, and they got excited about that. Who could say? And I do love when they challenge each other. Who better sales today? Who did a higher check average today? It's kind of cool to see that, and you reward them, but you also take care of them. You look out for them. They're having a rough day. You make a little something here. Have a little bit of this. Steam up some dumplings or something. Here, have this. Take a moment, take a breath.
So one of the last questions I want to talk about is opportunity. So you talked about how you're always trying to be at the forefront of the industry and always trying to, if somebody, borrows an idea, takes an idea, right? You say, okay, let's go to the next level. What opportunities are you seeing in your industry or just in business in general that you'd like to capitalize on going forward?
I think, a lot of it now, it's trending towards not just what you're doing in-house, but what you're doing out-house, like what you're doing in social media, creating YouTube channels, content for people to gravitate towards. Having those opportunities, doing specialty events, whether it's in Brooklyn or Jersey or whatever, I get called to do a lot of things, and the more exposure you put yourself out there with, for me, I'm very, like I said, I'm very, very lucky. Having done a lot of TV, done a lot of Food Network, there's a common request for me to be there, and I never say no, or I very rarely say no, because every opportunity becomes that what can we do next? Whether it's something in the street, a street fair, whether it's a tasting, whether it's a fundraiser. I think the more you do, the more exposure you get, the better off you are. But I think opportunities come up often when you put yourself out there. It's what are we doing to showcase the restaurant, the brand, and constantly being willing to do the interview, write the article, and that's another thing. Like I get asked to do articles in weird magazines. I got asked to do an article in a girls camping magazine, to do an article on doing a fireside soup. All right, well, let me figure this out. So I did. It was kind of interesting to get the feedback that I got from it, from these kids who go camping. Oh, it's a great idea. I didn't think about that. It was just a simple thing, and utilizing vegetables and things you can find when you're traveling on the side of like the farm stands, and getting stuff there, and then being able to prepare it at the fireside, and then using a skillet. It was a lot of fun to do that. But I didn't say no. But I was like, oh, what the hell am I going to do with this? All right, I'll figure it out. I got called to do for this year September a corn festival in New Jersey, and like, oh, we want you to come out. I want you to do this. I want you to do that. I'm like, yeah, sure. Corn's one of my favorite things. Jersey corn is amazing. I had restaurants out there. Love the product. So it's like those Jersey customers may not come here, but they may. We've had a lot of people who come out here with their families doing soccer competition, soccer, what the hell do you call them? Like tournaments, hockey tournaments, football, blah, blah, blah. They come out to Long Island and they're like, oh, Chef Eric's there. Because, I saw him at the thing. Oh, he's there. Let's go check it out.
Or they
which
meet
is
you
really
in
cool.
Jersey,
Yeah.
And then they see you on Instagram, and then they send it to their friend that lives
Yeah,
there.
it happens it's like vegan stuff. Like we do a lot of vegan things here because I went vegan for a year. Great experience. It changed my life, changed my approach to food. Hard to go out and have real vegan food. It was almost pasta and vegetable. So people who are carnivores, who have friends who are vegan, who they'd never go out with, bring them here. Because they get an experience, because it's not just rice and vegetable, pasta and vegetable. We pay attention to that, having the experience of going through that, and make it a mission to make sure that we're using and creating for them. So we got that. Yeah, it's really cool. People do that all the time when you talk about, oh yeah, let's go check them out, because we make it available, because we put ourselves out there. Our ramen, we have a vegan ramen. People love that. So it's like if you do for people, and you put it out there and you create the experience, they're going to come. And they're going to come back for different reasons. But then I have my customers who come all the time because they love our crispy chicken sandwich, which is the dumbest sandwich in the universe, but it sells. We'll sell a couple hundred a week. They love it. That's all that matters. My opinion doesn't matter. Their opinion matters, right? I make some of the dishes that suck. I'm like, this is a great dish. They're going to, and we don't sell a single one, but you learn from that. You learn that people aren't going to go after, a garlic shrimp with vanilla sauce, a vanilla bean sauce. Yeah, but it's really good. Yeah, it sounds weird, vanilla. Use vanilla for dessert. Try it. You've had worse things in your mouth.
Yeah. So the last question I have for you, wrapping it up, is we all have areas of improvement that we're looking to improve. For you guys personally, what's one thing that you think that you could recognize and you'd like to improve on, and are actively trying to improve on?
I think it is making more available, right? Making more options, more events available to people who are looking for things that are outside the box, who are looking for, we're always trying to discover how to build a better mousetrap, right? How do you get people here consistently and get that message out? I think that's probably the area that we need to do better at, and create that experience and ease of finding things for our customer base.
Do you have the answer to that yet, or are you still working on
it? No, that's constantly changing, because the way people approach social media or information or consume it constantly changes. There was a app called Meerkat for a while, and people were really kind of going in that, and it was going to be the next big thing. It was going to be what Snapchat turned out to be. And it died off, and I bought into it, so to speak. And I'm like, yeah, Meerkat's going to be great. Blah, blah, blah. And then, So you kind of got to pay attention to what's going on out there. You know, the industry has changed so much. The restaurant business has changed so much. Food and beverage has changed so much. Social media constantly changes. You know, I just started doing a TikTok page. I got to put better content. I know that, but I got to wrap my head around. It's almost like, you know, I need someone in my world just to say, I'm coming over, going to videotape this, and I'm going to put it up for you. But you know, hopefully he or she will wind up in my life, and I'll be able to just give them content and they can upload it, because it's editing. Like editing. I'm not a TikTok guy. You know, the kids got that. They got their little thing. But it's funny what happens with that stuff once you hit. You know, I did something with my girl. We did a video of my reaction to someone wanting to ban Chinese mandolins because she cut her finger. And I got home and we did this video. I didn't know her, you know, my stepson was videotaping us in our conversation. And then it was funny because like you know, my videos get no hits. This got over 750,000 views. It just blew my mind that could happen. Yeah. You know, but it was my reaction and her reaction, and like it was just genuine. So you where's the content lead you to? You know, and that's for me, that's a lesson to learn. Yeah, that's you're always learning. Always learning, you know.
Absolutely. Well, Eric, it was an absolute pleasure, man.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
I appreciate you doing
If you're in the
this.
Farmingdale area, definitely check out 317 Main Street. Absolutely. Say hi to Chef Eric. I'm sure he'll probably be taking rounds actually to say hello to you.
Absolutely.
Probably beat you too. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned. Check out the next episode. If you are an entrepreneur, business owner, or if you have any recommendations of people you think might be a good fit for this podcast, send them my way. Thanks so much for watching. God bless. Peace out.